I think we'll jump to something a bit different, though still connected with the positive group and the FWBO and so on. Question about India, actually. Do you have any thoughts on the possibility or inevitability of a backlash by the Hindu population in India against FWBO India? Well, the brief answer to that is that I don't. I don't anticipate any such backlash against the FWBO specifically. There's quite a lot of trouble in India at the moment involving ex-untouchables and even Buddhists. I did happen to pick up today, I don't know to whom it belonged, but the current issue of New Society. Whose was that? It was left lying about somewhere. New Society?
I think it was Nick Soames I had his name.
So there was there was an article in that about the happenings in Bihar, affecting ex-untouchables, Buddhists, and involving, in a way, the Buddha Gaya temple itself. It's a quite interesting article. I'm going to ask Subhuti to procure a copy of that issue because we ought really to study the situation. But I don't anticipate any backlash by the Hindu population in India against FWBO India. Well, you might ask me, well, why I don't anticipate. That, in a way, isn't an easy question to answer, not, without really knowing the situation there, or without you, say, knowing the situation there. We have in India, as our most active, so to speak, full-time workers, Mitra and Purna. And they being the most active members, if there was to be any, or active workers, if there was to be any backlash, one would expect that it would be directed against them, because they're the sort of spearhead. But again, I don't think that that will happen, for several reasons. I did suggest quite strongly to Mitra before he went out that he kept up any friendships that he had or could make outside the ex-untouchable Buddhist community. And I said I attach great importance to that. It is possible to make friends with some Hindus who are quite sympathetic in a way, up to a point, with Buddhism. And it's quite good to have friends in these sort of circles. So that in time of need one can, so to speak, pull a few strings or get things done, or have oneself looked after even. Also there's another point, that Hindus may not like the untouchables or ex-untouchables becoming Buddhists, but they're very happy when Westerners become Buddhists. Maybe that's a bit paradoxical, because they see, they say Buddhism as part of their Indian, even Hindu culture. So if a Westerner becomes a Buddhist, they regard it, rather ethnocentrically, as a bit of a feather in their cap. So I think for that reason, by virtue of the fact that Lokamitra comes from England and Purna comes from New Zealand, it's very, very unlikely that there's going to be any backlash against them. Because Hindus will be only too pleased that ex-Christians are now following an Indian religion. And I think that if we are a bit diplomatic and a bit tactful, we can even win the support and even the friendship of some Hindus. I think though the Orthodox Hindus, and especially the Orthodox Brahmins, do treat the ex-untouchables so badly in almost all cases, we ourselves have to be very careful. In fact, the ex-untouchables themselves have to be very careful, if they possibly can, not to develop an attitude of antagonism or hostility towards the Hindus as a whole, especially towards individual Hindus that we may happen to meet. They can be quite friendly people, and they might even help us in our work. So we should make contacts with them wherever we can. Also, another point is that the FWBO in India, the Trailokya Bodha Mahasangha, while working predominantly with the ex-untouchable Buddhists, is by no means confined to them. That is to say, we don't work only for the ex-untouchable Buddhists to the total exclusion of everybody else. One of the reasons why the ex-untouchables became Buddhist was to escape from the caste system. So they can only do that if the caste system is broken down. If, having become Buddhist, they have contact only with Buddhists who once were ex-untouchables, then even though they call themselves, even though they are Buddhists, in a sense, they've not broken out of the caste system. Do you see what I mean? Yeah? You're just a sort of ex-untouchable Buddhist ghetto in Indian society. You're still another caste, even though you call yourselves Buddhists. So this is why I sometimes used to say in India, it's impossible for anybody to be Buddhist unless everybody is Buddhist. You see what I mean? Yeah? Because so long as the caste system persists, you, the Buddhists, will be treated as a caste. Yeah? So if you don't want to be treated as a caste, you must break down the whole caste system. So you can't break down the caste system merely by converting ex-untouchables to Buddhism. They will be untouchable Buddhists then, in the eyes of the caste Hindus. You have to convert the Hindus too, the caste Hindus too. Yeah? And actually, we have got some caste Hindu friends, and at least one may become an order member sometime. So we want to do this. We want to have in the order in India, not just ex-untouchables, but ex-caste Hindus too, ex-Brahmins. Yeah? We're open to all. So if we have within our movement there not only the ex-untouchables, also some ex-caste Hindus, well, in a sense, we'll have a foothold in the enemy camp. Yeah? And they will have their friends and their relations, and they can pull a few strings. So in that way, it is unlikely, I think, that we shall ever suffer a backlash. And also, we mustn't be, as it were, provocative. We mustn't go out of our way to annoy, the Hindus, who are, after all, in the majority, and just quietly pursue our way and do what we have to do, without, deliberately at least, upsetting anybody. Not until we're strong enough, to do that. Yeah? Keep a low profile, at least for the time being. Yeah?